Come on, y'all. It's been years and years and years of the same thing. We should have already known what to expect for the trade deadline, but for today's video, no, we're not going at any hypocritical analyst. No, we're not going to be talking about another team. We're talking about our own team, and more specifically, our fan base, our community, and how we conduct ourselves as fans. Because I'm going to be honest, bro. I feel like a lot of us embarrassed ourselves yesterday for the NFL trade deadline. And I want to have a conversation about this because this is also part of the messaging of this channel, is trying to kind of unite Cowboys Nation and hold ourselves to a higher standard of conduct as far as what we are as fans, especially since we know we have every other fan base in the National Football League looking at us, waiting for us to crack, waiting for us to show any kind of weakness, and waiting to point and laugh at us at any given chance. And I'm gonna be real, bro. Us as Cowboys Nation, we got to do a better job of minimizing how many opportunities these other fans have to point and laugh at us. Now, I want to draw our attention to this tweet right here made by one of the Dallas Cowboys fans on X. Who knew being a lifelong fan of this team would garner so much craziness? What happened to just rooting for your team, win, lose, or draw? Now everyone is so crazy obsessed with trying to control the narrative. It's taking all the fun out of being a fan, I tell you. Dallas Cowboys for life. I 100% agree with this notion. Yesterday, and I'm not going to specifically point out anybody, I'm not going to name anybody. If you guys are in the Cowboys communities, if you're on Cowboys Twitter, if you're in Cowboys different parts of the social atmosphere, you saw it. You saw a lot of the, and don't get offended when I term this the way that I'm terming this, because I'm going somewhere with this. You saw a lot of the crying, a lot of the belly aching, a lot of the rage baiting. You saw a lot of this going on X. And I'm going to be honest, bro, it was embarrassing as a Dallas Cowboys fan because at the end of the day, the Cowboys have never been known for making huge trade deadline splashes. If you're a true fan of this team, then you should know as a Dallas Cowboys fan, they have not made these types of trades. The last in-season trade they made was for Big Hank. The Cowboys only make trades that concern super late round picks, or they make trades in the spring or around draft time. They usually do not trade in season. We don't see this happen very often. We saw it with Amari Cooper. We saw it with Jonathan Hankins. And a lot of people seem like they just wanted the Cowboys to make a trade for the sake of making a trade because they saw other teams making a trade, not fully understanding the context under which these teams made these trades. And you don't have to just take my word for it. We can go back since Dak Prescott has gotten to Dallas and take a look at all of Dallas's trade transactions since 2016, and you'll be quite surprised by the results. We take a look 2016, no trades. Let's go to 2017 now. Update. Oh, we have 3 trades here. One made in April, one made on September 2nd, and one made on September 3rd. That trade in April was clearly a draft time trade. Then we get to September 2nd and 3rd. These are right before the season starts, so this is more than likely them going and getting some of the guys that other teams are about to release and they don't want to try to fight for them on a waiver wire or whatever it may be. But the Dallas Cowboys went out and got Bené Benwickery, a cornerback, on September 2nd, 2017 for a 6th round pick. Then September 3rd, the next day, they went and got Jaron Elliott, an outside linebacker, in exchange for a 2018 7th round pick. You're going to notice a trend here, guys. In 2018, if we take a look at this, they were quite busy this year. March 20 of 2018, they got Jameez Olawale, which was a fullback. We all remember him. That was a 5th round pick. April 28th, 2018, around draft time, we got Tavon Austin from the Rams, a 6th round pick. Another draft time trade, Dallas gets Jihad Ward, a defensive end, and Oakland gets Ryan Switzer from the Cowboys. August 30th, right before the season starts, they get Parker Ehlinger in exchange for Travarius Ward. October 22nd, 2018. This is one of the only mid-season trades the Cowboys have made in the past almost decade now. Keep this in mind. And we traded away a 1st round pick for Amari Cooper. Remember what we got for that in return? We got a few good years of Amari Cooper. He essentially saved Dak Prescott from having to play with the receiving core that Patrick Mahomes has this year. But at the end of the day, we didn't win any Super Bowls, we didn't get to NFC Championship games, and we lost out on the first round pick and only got a 5th rounder back for him when it was time to trade him before it was time to renew his contract. So there, Amari Cooper, that's 2018. That's one mid-season trade so far. We're in 2018 right now. Then we go to 2019. We get another mid-season trade, and this time it was for a 6th round pick by way of Michael Bennett from the New England Patriots, the defensive end that was a part of those old Seattle teams, an aging veteran, not a huge impactful trade or anything, one of those 6th round, late round pick type of trades. The other acquisitions they made that year is they got Robert Quinn in the trade around March of 2019 for a, you guessed it, 6th round pick. Besides that, everything else was just draft pick trades and trade up and down in NFL draft. But there were 2 actual transactions made that year, getting Michael Bennett and Robert Quinn to try to shore up a weakness on the team, which at that time, we needed war daddies. We needed pass rushers. I know y'all remember that era. This was like right in the midst of having one of the worst defenses in the league, by the way. Okay, so then we come to 2020. Again, another draft time trade, this time with Philadelphia. I have no clue why they're doing business with Philadelphia. And then we get 2 mid-season trades. One of them was just getting a 6th round pick from the Detroit Lions in exchange for Everson Griffin, which that trade didn't really take any skin off our back. But again, they love these late round picks, 6th and 7th round picks. And then on November 1st of 2020, we got Eli Anku, which is a defensive tackle, in exchange for a 7th round pick. Let's go to 2021. By now, y'all should see the trend. 2021, no transactions made as far as trades, so they didn't trade anything at all in 2021. And then we go to 2022. We have the dreaded Amari Cooper trade, in which we got rid of Amari Cooper, and we got a 5th round and 6th round pick back. Again, they love those late round picks. And I'm gonna be real, I 100% think they could have got a lot more from Amari Cooper than that. They probably could have at least got a 2nd or a 3rd rounder, because he was still a 1,000-yard receiver at that point with some of the best route running skills in the league. So that, in my opinion, was a really bad trade. We kind of got hosed on that one. And then obviously the big Jonathan Hankins trade, in which we got rid of a 6th round pick and got a 7th round pick back as well for 2024. And then obviously 2023, they've been some busy bees. You may notice that 2023 has actually been their busiest offseason in the last decade almost, by way of trading and trying to wheel and deal and make moves to make their team better. They obviously got Stephon Gilmore for that 5th round pick, got Brandon Cooks for that 6th and the 5th. Also keep in mind the years that a lot of these trades and draft picks are coming from. 2023 and 2024, they're missing a lot of their late round picks. I'm just letting you know that now. They obviously got Trey Lance. I'm gonna be real, I don't know if I like this trade. I think this trade was actually the value or the draft pick that the Cowboys could have used to get someone to help their team immediately this year. I 100% think that this Trey Lance trade actually hamstrung Dallas from making an actual move this year, and I'm not really sure why they addressed their backup quarterback position this early into the season, when honestly they would have been better off just letting the season play through, letting Cooper Rush walk at the end of the season, because we now see what he really is after he threw that duck against the Rams. We see what Cooper Rush actually is, and probably drafting a young quarterback or something, a project quarterback. I don't think that was necessary at all to trade one of your draft picks to get Trey Lance. And then we got Noah, and I'm just going to call him I because I can't say his last name, in exchange for Kelvin Joseph from the Miami Dolphins, which is, by the way, some of that defensive back depth that some of you guys were calling for them to try to trade for on this year's trade deadline. What was my point in showing you guys all of this information? What was my point right here? My point was, for one, this has literally been the most busy that this front office has been in the last 10 years, it seems like. Number 2, Dallas only makes trades if they're getting rid of a 5th, a 6th, or a 7th round pick. If they're having to trade anything higher than that, you best believe the player they're trading for better be under contract already. They plan on signing them to a contract, or the value of that player is so high and the need of the team is so dire that they just have to go out and spend that 1st round pick on a wide receiver like Amari Cooper, because you remember that season started off absolutely terribly. The receiving corps was pathetic. It made Dak look really, really bad. And at that point, I think the Joneses figured out, hey, we kind of screwed this dude. We let Dez walk, and we didn't really replace Dez with anything. We didn't really put a real number one receiver on this roster, and it looks really, really bad. And I think they went out and tried to fix that dire situation, and that's my point here. The Cowboys only make trades when it's a dire emergency need, especially midseason trades in which you think you're going to be giving up high draft picks. It's a dire midseason need, or it's a super great value type of deal where they're getting an aging veteran that still may have some use on his legs, but he doesn't have as much use as he might used to have, so you can get him for a cheaper value. That's the only time the Cowboys make trades. Am I okay with that? Am I personally happy with that? No, but am I as a fan going to be mad and pouting and fighting with each other and arguing with people and attacking people because the front office didn't make a move? No, especially when the Cowboys have no dire positions of need on their current roster right now. I know what a lot of you guys are going to say. You're going to say, oh, the Eagles made a move. The Lions made a move. The Seahawks made a move. The 49ers made a move. The only one of those teams you should really be concerned about making the moves that they made was the 49ers, because they already whooped our ass this year. So them getting Chase Young is only going to be a net positive. Everyone else was filling gaps and needs that they absolutely needed to fill. Philadelphia got Kevin Byard, which he is a big name, but he isn't what he used to be, which is why they got him for the price they got him for. And their secondary was trash. Their secondary is one of the worst secondaries in the league. And due to the competition they've played, that hasn't exactly shown through all the way yet. But we've seen people like Sam Howell and other players put up astronomical numbers on that Philadelphia Eagle defense. The defensive line isn't the issue. They needed secondary help. They had an emergency need in their secondary, and they got rid of one of their secondary players to get Kevin Byard back. So they really got incrementally better. It was not like they just got this amazing team reversing, fortune reversing player in that trade. The Lions and the Seahawks, I'm going to say this right now. If you're a Cowboys fan and you're afraid of any moves that the Lions or Seahawks make with the talent deficit that are on our rosters and the fact that none of the players on that Lions team has been to the playoffs, none of those players are battle scarred. None of those players have showed anybody anything that should make them think that they're going to be truly a huge factor in the playoffs. I'm not calling them a bad team, but I'm saying the Cowboys, even as they stand, are still a better constructed team than the Detroit Lions, and they have players that are more experienced and should play better than any of the Lions players in the playoffs. Again, I respect the Lions, I respect the Seahawks, but I respect my team even more, and I understand that the Dallas Cowboys are the third best team in the NFC as of right now, guys. We cannot be afraid of everyone. We cannot make moves because teams ranked lower than us are making moves. The Lions and the Seahawks are the Lions and the Seahawks. Do you really, really, really believe that Geno Smith or Jared Goff is going to lead them to a Super Bowl? Do you really, really, really believe that Geno Smith or Jared Goff is going to rip your defense apart? That's the questions you have to ask yourself. So no, I'm not worried about those two teams. And like I said, the 49ers, that one was a little bit scary, but they also were filling a need. Their extremely high-paid defensive line has not come through for them, and they're looking for more production. That's why they're grasping at straws, trying to get defensive ends anywhere that they can get them. And remember, guys, they can only put so many of these players on the field at one time. But either way, the point still stands. The Cowboys don't need to make moves just because other teams are making moves, especially when we as Cowboys fans, most of us, don't even understand the context in which these teams are making these moves under. Here's the thing about trades. If you're going to make a trade that's going to quote unquote improve your team, you have to be trading for a player that's currently better than one of the players that's taking time on the field right now. So if we actually take a look at this depth chart and actually take a look at the players that we have starting and in positions, I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below which one of these players are you really trying to get rid of or replace. What player would you go out and get, and how much value are you giving up for that player? And then once you figure out that player, I want you to think about, okay, what is their contract situation? Are we going to have to pay this player knowing that we have Micah, Dak, CD, and all these other players coming up that we're going to have to pay very soon that are our own players? Remember, the Cowboys only have a few players on their team that wasn't either drafted or signed in free agency. They don't have a bunch of players on their team that were actually brought here through trades or anything. The Cowboys have a homegrown system, and it's very clear that they have preferred to go this way. That is what their style is. Not everyone is going to have the willing and dealing style of a Howie Long. Not everyone is going to have the old Oakland A's money ball style. Not everyone's going to be the Texas Rangers and go out and sign all these different free agents so they can try to make a run. Different organizations run different ways. There's different strokes for different folks, guys. And we have to understand as fans, again, I'm not saying that one way or this way is better than the other way, or I'd rather stay put. I'm not saying that at all. Me personally, I would have loved to see them go grab a Derrick Henry. I would have loved to see them go make a real impact splash just so I can feel good as a fan. But I also am level-headed enough as a fan to understand that this team, as it currently is damn sure good enough to win. And this team, as it currently is, has plenty of young players with promise that, if needed, they can fill in, provide depth, and it's killing two birds with one stone, because not only are these young players providing depth, you have these guys under contract, and they're going to be getting better while they're on the field. So these are your own players in your own system that understand what you're trying to do as a team, as a culture. They understand the playbook. They understand the system that Dan Quinn is trying to run. They understand the system that Mike McCarthy is trying to run. We have seen this team have issues with their actual scheming this year, guys. It's not been a talent issue. It's been a scheming issue. And people want to add more players to that mix, to add more fruit into the Kool-Aid that don't need to be there. At this point, we just making jungle juice, and we're getting way too many different flavors involved without having an actual concentrated direction of where we're trying to go. Are we making red Kool-Aid, blue Kool-Aid, purple Kool-Aid, green Kool-Aid, yellow Kool-Aid, or y'all just want to make one of those Mountain Dew mystery voodoo Kool-Aids, huh? Now again, Dak Prescott quarterback. I'm keeping my quarterback there. Running back, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn. We got Hunter Lepke as our fullback. This is the one position right here I would have liked to see them improve. I'm going to be honest. I think that they need a real lead back, because I think Tony Pollard, some of his explosiveness is being taken away by having to carry that load, having to be as good as he has been in some pass protection, having to run between the tackles to set the tone or to set up other plays in the playbook. I think that's taking away from Tony Pollard's explosiveness a little bit, along with the fact that the offensive line hasn't been playing up to their talent level. Then at wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb here as our ex-receiver. We have Brandon Cooks here, hopefully, as our wide receiver now, and Kevontae Turpin coming in after him. Those two receiver spots, I'm okay with those. Those are two explosive players. One of them is a proven veteran that's a consistent 1,000-yard receiver in the National Football League, and he clearly still has some juice left, and he's been an excellent impact on the locker room. Then our other receiver spot is Michael Gallup and Jalen Tolbert. Okay, a lot of us are down on Michael Gallup right now. Give Jalen Tolbert some more run. This was a guy that they used a day 2 draft pick on. Why are we trying to bring somebody in to take opportunities away from a guy that, quite frankly, we need to see if he's going to be able to provide anything to this team at all throughout this season? Then our tight ends, Jake Ferguson. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to like Fergie. I think he's starting to come into his own as a true tight end one. Then we have Hendershot and Schoonmaker. Not really huge fans of those guys, but I'm going to be honest, bro. You need Jake Ferguson as your primary pass-catching tight end. You can bring out another big country-fed dude to come be a blocking tight end, so I'm not too concerned with this spot. Do we need to trade any more draft capital? We don't have a 4th, 5th, or 6th, or 5th, 6th, or 7th, whatever it may be. So do we need to trade a day 2 draft pick to bring in some depth for tight end? Absolutely not. Then we look at our offensive line. Tyron Smith, yes, I think it's time for Tyron Smith to hang it up, bro. He's not reliable at this point in his career. He just has too many battle scars. He has too many nagging injuries that hang around and flare up at different times. And it's just honestly something that's been a constant speed bump thrown in the Cowboys' way. So Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, Terrence Steele. First of all, we just signed Terrence Steele to a long-term deal recently. Zach Martin is a future Hall of Famer. Tyler Biadasz is a serviceable center. Can we get better there? Absolutely. But are you going to get better there during the NFL trade deadline? Absolutely not. And that's one of those positions on the field. A center is very, very important. A center has to be very in tune with what the quarterback is trying to do, what the quarterback is seeing. That's one of those positions you don't just screw around with on the field. Tyler Smith is becoming one of the best guards in football. Tyron Smith is a future Hall of Famer. When he's on the field, he does his job very well. It is not a talent issue. So even on the offensive line, you're looking more so for depth. We have TJ Bass. We have Asim Richards. Chuma has done an okay job. He's allowed some jailbreaks, but Chuma's done an okay job. So the question here is the backup that you're willing to bring in, or the depth that you're going to bring in, going to be better than the guys you currently have on your roster? How do we know that? We don't. That's the thing, you really don't know. All these trades are shots in the dark because you have no clue how these players are going to perform in your system. So is it really worth it to bring in some offensive line depth for a day 2 draft pick when you can possibly draft an offensive lineman next year that's going to be here for 4 to 5 years and could possibly end up being a starting quality offensive lineman with one of those day 2 picks? You see what I'm saying here? We're not really making sense with what we're demanding the team to actually do. And I feel like a lot of people have gotten caught in rage baiting and just being mad for the sake of being mad, or being mad because it's the popular thing to do, or shaking your fist at the Joneses because it's the popular thing to do. By no means am I defending them. I've made it very clear several times in this video I wanted a trade to happen as well, but I've also made it clear that I am level-headed enough to understand how this works, how this team has worked. I've actually been a real fan of this team. I understand what they do, how they maneuver, and I'm not going to get myself upset and riled up every single year and absolutely embarrass myself on the internet by crying and complaining and fighting with each other because the team did something that I expected them to do at the end of the day, bro. We know how Jerry has been operating. We know more so how Steven likes to operate. And this is more of a Steven type of vibe right here. Jerry is that splash guy. Jerry is the risk taker. We heard Jerry say it on a couple weeks ago on a radio show. Steven has 100% been given a lot of deference by Jerry as far as his opinion of how he wants to go about running things. And this is 100% Steven Jones stuff. All right, so we look at our defensive line. DeMarcus Lawrence, Sam Williams on one side, and then on the other side, we got Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler in our defensive end slots. Obviously, Micah Parsons is there as well, but they have him listed as a linebacker on the website. Damone Clark is another one of our linebackers. And then we also have Marquise Bell coming in, playing excellently as a hybrid type of linebacker. So right now, our actual linebackers are Damone Clark, Marquise Bell, and then Rashaan Evans when they finally call him up from the freaking practice squad before someone else claims this dude. But those are our linebacking core. Could we get better there? Absolutely. Are the young players that are currently playing in those spots actually playing fairly well? Yes. Marquise Bell is actually one of the highest rated linebackers with a minimum of 100 snaps on the season, graded by Pro Football Focus, guys. He's been playing outstanding, filling in for Leighton Vander Esch, and Damone Clark has been playing well as well. The linebackers have not been our weakness or our issue. Honestly, since LVE went out, I think that we had a bigger weakness at that position with LVE starting than we've had with Marquise Bell since he's been in, because Marquise Bell just covers more ground and he seems to be just more of a natural gap filler. Okay, I know a lot of you guys were like, oh man, we need some more depth at DB though. What happens if one of our DBs go down? We already lost Diggs. I'm gonna tell you right now, bro, if you lose 3 or 4 DBs on the season, chances are your secondary is just gonna be crunched anyways. It's gonna be over with, bro. The secondary is gonna be trash for the rest of the season. That's gonna be having to be one of those deficiencies that you work around and not work through, bro. When you lose too much depth at any position, no amount of trades is going to alleviate that loss, period. But even in our DB backfield, we have Stephon Gilmore, and then we have Deron Bland, obviously, as our 2 outside corners. And then behind those 2 guys, we have Noah I from the Dolphins, which we looked at earlier. We have Jordan Lewis playing that slot position. Don't forget, we got Israel Mukuamu that also played some outside corner last year when Anthony Brown went down, and he had some bright spots and he had some low spots, but he was a first-year player, young player, so that's to be expected. But we do have a dude back there that we know is capable of playing the position, so there's some quote-unquote depth. And then obviously we still got Eric Scott Jr. as well. So we have some depth there. The problem is we just don't know what to expect from those guys. That's really what a lot of you guys are saying. You don't know whether or not these dudes have the talent or not to fill in if needed. You just don't have the confidence in the names of these dudes because you haven't seen enough film or seen enough game tape of these guys to know if they're really truly capable of filling in as a DB. And at the end of the day, I don't want to find that out. I don't have to be in a position where we have to find that out. So with that, I truly believe that people are more so operating out of scarcity of knowledge as far as their fear with depth in the cornerback and the DB room, because we have no clue what those players are. So would it have been nice to bring a Jalen Johnson in from the Bears? Absolutely. How much money is he trying to be paid? Is that going to interfere with the Cowboys have to do this offseason? Is it reasonable for the Cowboys to have that much money locked into their cornerbacks when we know, true Cowboys fans know, traditionally the Cowboys don't pay DBs. They don't pay DBs. And then obviously we got Donald, J-Ron Curse, Malik Hooker, Wanye Thomas. We have all these dudes back there in our safety backfield. To me, that sounds like depth. You essentially need 4 guys rotating as your safeties. You have J-Ron Curse, Malik Hooker, Wanye Thomas back there, and Donovan Wilson. Those are 4 guys that you're using as safeties. Wanye is more of like a hybrid safety type of linebacker in this particular system. But the point stands, guys. Where on this field are you looking to make huge upgrades? That's my point. Okay, you say linebacker. Okay, you say cornerback. Rasul Douglas from the Packers got traded. Yes, the Cowboys could have used that 4th round pick that they gave up for Trey Lance. They could have used that for Rasul Douglas. I give you that one. Linebacker? What linebackers of note got traded? None of them really. Oh, you say offensive line depth? What offensive linemen of note got traded, and did the one that get traded, are they better than the guys that we have been waiting? Is the gap big enough to justify bringing in another contract, bringing in another guy to replace a Asim Richards or a Chuma Edoga or a TJ Bass? Is that dude 100% that much better than those 3 players to the point to where we just forego having a cheap, nice backup option for depth and young guys that are honestly still growing and still coming into their own as what they're going to be as professionals in the National Football League? I don't know that. Do you? Do you know the answer to that? I don't know that. We got to learn how to take a step back, stop trying to dictate everything, stop trying to dictate how everyone should feel about everything, stop trying to pretend or feign as if we have more influence or control than what we really do. When you decide to be a fan of the team, you're deciding to support that team in the way that that team chooses to run their franchise. Point blank, period. You don't sign up to be a fan and be like, I'll be a fan as long as I can tell y'all who to trade for. That's not how that goes. Being a fan is very much so one-sided. We agree to all the terms and conditions of what it means to be a fan of that team. Otherwise, you just look foolish. You look like someone that bought the wrong item off the wrong grocery shelf when you go up to the front line and you're like, hey, this is a pineapple? I thought I picked up an orange. That's what you look like when you sit here and complain about what the Joneses have done or what they're doing or lack of what they're doing in the front office. That's what it looks like, guys. And it's embarrassing. You have everyone else pointing and laughing at us because we're at each other's throats for absolutely no reason. Absolutely no reason, all right? So what I want to say is, as Cowboys fans, and if you're going to choose to be a Cowboy fan, don't switch up on your team and try to position yourself in a way so as to when the Cowboys lose, you have an out because you're like, oh, I knew it. Jerry should have went and made a trade. Let me jump on this side of the line and point my finger at everybody and laugh because I knew that this was going to happen because we didn't make a trade. I feel like that's what a lot of you guys are doing. I feel like a lot of you guys are positioning yourselves to have an out. I feel like a lot of you guys, and by you guys I mean Cowboys fans and Cowboys Nation and some of the prominent members of Cowboys Nation on X and on different websites, I feel like a lot of you guys try to kind of have a guarded or a protected fandom to where you don't have to feel the full impact of what it really feels like to be disappointed as a fan. I feel like a lot of you guys kind of build up this callous to where it's like, okay, I'm going to be so angry at one aspect of this team that it really doesn't affect me as much when we do ultimately lose, or if we lose. It won't affect me as much because I was mad and I knew this was going to happen. Or some of you guys are positioning yourself to be able to say, I told you so, versus just being a real freaking fan, rooting for your team, win, loss, draw. As LB Red says, win, loss, draw, root for your team, and throw up that DC 4L. I don't think a lot of you guys are really trying to do that. It's too many people out here trying to rage bait. It's too many people out here trying to get clicks and impressions on Twitter so they can get the little checks. There's too many people out here honestly making us look bad as a fan base, bro. Like, I'm gonna be real. It's honestly making us look bad as a fan base because we look like whiny little bitches. And I'm saying we because I'm including myself in that because I'm also a Dallas Cowboys fan. We look like whiny little bitches when we do this, guys. If we can say Philly fans are low class and low IQ, then I think that it's pretty fair to say that Cowboys fans are like whiny bitches when we go on Twitter and we go on the internet and throw all these freaking temper tantrums and fits because the team didn't do exactly what we wanted them to do. And then we use that as a way to kind of have 1 foot in and 1 foot out for the rest of the season. We want to dampen the blow of ultimately losing at the end of the season for our own ego purposes versus just letting it all hang out, supporting your team, rooting them on, cheering the players on the field, praying for good health, and just seeing how the season plays out, bruh. I just can't get into the whole knee-jerk reaction. Let's be super emotional. I can't get into that, bro. I just can't get into that. I'm not that type of fan. I'm not going to perpetuate that type of vibe on any of my platforms. I'm not going to sit here and rage bait and try to drive hate and try to profit off of hate of my team that I'm rooting for. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't make any sense. And to me, if you are doing that, then you need to really call into question, are you really a fan of the Cowboys? Are you a fan when it's only convenient? Are you a fan when the weather is nice? Are you a fan when Dak has a bad game? Are you still supporting your quarterback, or are you saying we need to make a change? And you belly aching about Dak playing bad for an entire week until he finally comes back and has a game more akin to who he is. And now you want to jump back on the hype train with the rest of us. Because I've seen a lot of you guys doing that too. A lot of you guys were out on Dak Prescott after that San Francisco 49ers game. A lot of you guys were out on Dak Prescott after the Arizona Cardinals game. And then I see you guys cry and complain for a whole 3 or 4 days after those losses and then want to be like, all right, let's get back to business. It's all good. No! Control your emotions. Quit making us look like whiny fucking children on the internet, bro. Period. I know I've been a little bit rough on y'all on this video, but y'all know how we always end these things, man. I just kind of wanted to kind of have a TED talk with y'all, bro, because this is, we got to fix some stuff in our fan base and our community, man. We have to, because this type of stuff makes us look bad. Jerry, them, they can operate however they want to. It's their team. If we chose to be fans, we need to at least make ourselves as a fan base look respectable. That's all I'm asking, bro. If we're supposed to be the top dog, the top enchilada, the big enchilada, if we're supposed to be that, let's act like that, bro. Let's act like that. Period. All right? Y'all know how we in these videos. How? Cowboys, man. Pastor, take it away.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.